You are standing at the threshold of 2026, and the door before you is massive. It is a door of stewardships you have prayed for, and opportunities you have long awaited. But do not be deceived. No great door opens without a great conflict. While the world looks at the opportunity, the Spirit of God is looking at your preparation. He knows that the giants of fear and condemnation are waiting just inside that door, hoping to stop you before you take your first step. The rain lashes against the cold stone of the courtyard. You stand in the mud, looking at the heavy rucksack at your feet, wondering why the road has been so steep and why the sky has remained so silent for so long. You look back at the year behind you, the year of 2025, and you see a trail of broken promises, unanswered prayers, and nights that felt like an eternity spent in the shadow of the valley. You feel like a traveler who has lost their way in the thicket. You feel like a soldier who was sent into a battle without a map, without a command, and without a clear vision of the victory. But I am here to tell you that the King does not waste a single tear shed in the secret place. He does not mismanage a single moment of your pain or a single hour of your confusion. Every delay you endured was not a denial of your calling. It was a divine redirection to protect you from a trap you were not yet equipped to handle. Every no you received from the world was a weight from the throne of grace. Suffering is the forge of the servant, not the punishment of the rebel. You think you were being ignored by the heavens, but you were actually being insulated from a success that would have destroyed your character before your spirit was ready to sustain it. The year 2026 is the moment the training meets the territory the Lord has assigned to your hand. But you cannot walk through the door of the future if you are still mourning the ghosts of the wilderness. It is time to stop looking at your scars as signs of defeat and start looking at them as your veteran's commission. You have been in the fire, you have felt the weight of the hammer, and by the grace of Christ, you are still standing. The anatomy of the hiding. Why did God allow you to be hidden in 2025? To the world, being hidden looks like being forgotten. It looks like a closed door, a stalled career, or a silent ministry. But in the economy of the kingdom, being hidden is a sign of high value. You don't hide trash, you hide treasure. You don't hide a common soldier, you hide a specialized weapon. In Isaiah chapter 49, verse 2, the prophet speaks of this divine protocol. In the shadow of his hand, he has hidden me and made me a polished shaft. In his quiver, he has hidden me. Think of the arrow. It stays in the dark of the quiver, not because it is useless, but because it must stay dry, it must stay straight, and it must stay sharp. If the arrow is loosed too early, it misses the target. If it is exposed to the elements before the battle, it warps and becomes ineffective. God has been polishing you in the dark of 2025 so that you would be ready for the specific targets of 2026. The shadow was your protection, not your prison. Being hidden also prevents the enemy from seeing the weapon until the strike is already in motion. If the adversary knew what you were becoming in the dark, they would have sent the full legion to stop you. But because you were hidden, you have been able to grow in secret. You have been able to develop a root system that the storms of 2026 will not be able to pull up. The 7 chambers of sovereign preparation. To steward the year ahead with the humility of a true watchman, you must understand how the King has been moving behind the veil of your circumstances through 7 distinct layers of preparation. First, the gathering of stones. Think of every trial in the past year as a heavy stone gathered from a frozen riverbed. In 2026, you will build an altar of remembrance. You will point to the miracles of the new year and say, "The Lord did this." But you cannot build that altar with air. You need the weight. The very things that tried to crush you in the past are the very things that will support your testimony in the future. Every sleepless night, every betrayal, and every financial drought was a stone. If you had not gathered them, you would have nothing to stand upon when the floods of the new year attempt to rise. Second, the silence of the armory. The armory is always quietest right before the doors are thrown open for the final charge. In the silence of the last 12 months, God was training your ears to hear the still, small voice. When the noise of 2026 reaches a fever pitch, those who were not trained in the silence will be swept away by the chaos. They will look for voices in the wind and the fire, but they will miss the King. But you will be different. You have learned to hear the King when nothing else is speaking. You have learned that the silence of God is not a sign of His absence, but a sign of His intimacy. Third, the hardening of the will. Your comfort was sacrificed so that your character could be anchored in the person of Christ alone. In 2026, the world will offer you shortcuts. It will offer you compromise in exchange for comfort. Because you have already survived the discomfort of the wilderness, those shortcuts will hold no power over you. You have learned that a soft life produces a soft spirit, and a soft spirit cannot hold the line. You have been hardened against the lure of the easy path, and that is a gift that money cannot buy. Fourth, the breaking of self-sovereignty. The Lord allowed your hands to fail so you would learn that you do not sustain the work. The work sustains you. He allowed the clever plan to crumble and the sure thing to evaporate. He broke your reliance on your own intellect so that when the doors of 2026 open, you will walk through them with your eyes fixed on Him, not your own reflection. This breaking was not to make you weak, but to make you empty, so that He could fill you with a power that does not belong to this world. Fifth, the stewardship of the cup. You served others while your own dream felt dead. You learned how to handle someone else's property with integrity. You learned how to rejoice when others were promoted while you remained in the shadows. Therefore, the King can now trust you with your own territory. You have proven that you care more about the King's reputation than your own advancement. You have been a faithful steward of the small, and now the great is calling your name. Sixth, the refining of the vision. God dismantled your good plans to make room for His great purpose. When you started the previous year, you saw the world through the lens of your own ambition, but the fire of trial has burned that away. You see differently now. You see souls where you used to see numbers. You see eternity where you used to see time. You no longer look for the easy path. You look for the path that leads to the throne. Seventh, the season of the sift. The wind of trial wasn't there to blow you away. It was there to blow away the chaff, the pride, the shallow faith, and the secondary loves that would have weighed you down in 2026. The shaking was violent, and it was painful. But look at what remains. What remains is the grain. What remains is the gold. What remains is the substance of a life that is built upon the rock. Why 2026 requires this version of you. To understand the preparation, you must understand the environment of the year ahead. 2026 will not be a year for the casual or the lukewarm. It will be a year that demands a level of discernment and ironclad resolve that you did not possess 12 months ago. If you had entered this new territory with your old pride, the giants would have devoured you. If you had entered with your old dependencies, the first drought would have broken you. The moment of 2026 is a stewardship of high-stakes influence. It is a season where the King is looking for those He can trust with the deep things of the Spirit. He needed to know, will you stay when it's dark? Will you you worship when you're empty? Will you hold the line when the world says you're crazy? Your yes in the silence of the past is your authority in the noise of the future. The blueprint of the witness. Consider the scriptural witnesses who found that their waiting was their warfare. Consider Joseph. For 13 years, he was being prepared for a 7-year famine that would change the world. If he had not learned how to manage a prison, he could not have managed a planet. If he had not learned how to interpret dreams in the dark, he would not have been invited to the light of the palace. The dungeon was the classroom. The throne was the assignment. Consider Moses. Tending sheep in the dust was the only way he could learn the paths of the wilderness he would later have to lead a nation through. He had to be a shepherd before he could be a deliverer. He had to learn how to find water in a dry land for a few sheep before he could find it for millions of people. Consider David. In the cave of Adullam, he learned to lead 400 broken, distressed, and discontented people. Why? Because the king who can lead a group of broken outcasts in a cave is the only king who can lead a holy nation in a palace. Your cave season was the training ground for your crown season. Consider the patriarch, Jacob. In Genesis chapter 32, verse 25, we read, "Now, when he saw that he did not prevail against him, he touched the socket of his hip, and the socket of Jacob's hip was out of joint as he wrestled with him." God broke Jacob's natural strength so that he would have to lean on the staff of the Lord for the rest of his days. The limp was his credential. It proved he had encountered the living God and surrendered his own way. True dominion is born from total surrender. Your limp from the past year is your greatest asset in the year ahead. The theology of the waiting. Think of the waiting room of the king. In Isaiah chapter 40, verse 31, the prophet declares, "But those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint." The waiting is not a pause in the story. It is the twisting together of your spirit with the Lord's. Like a strand of rope being twisted together with other strands, the waiting period adds layers of strength that cannot be seen by the eye. Each day of waiting is another twist of the rope. If God had given you the stewardship of 2026 back when you were still self-reliant, it would have crushed you. Opportunity is a weight of glory that requires a heart refined by fire. He had to break your pride so you wouldn't steal the credit that belongs to him alone. He had to strip your self-assurance so that your only boast would be in the cross of Christ. Waiting is not wasted time. It is invested time. It is the season where the roots go deep so that the branches can grow wide. The protocol of the remnant. We are entering a season where the king is calling the remnant to the front lines. The remnant are those who have been through the fire and did not smell like smoke. They are those who have been in the dungeon and still have a song in their heart. They are the prepared. In 2026, the world will be looking for answers that money cannot buy. They will be looking for a peace that surpasses understanding. Because you have been through the preparation, you carry the answers in your spirit. Because you have known the presence of God in the dark, you can lead others into the light. You are a steward of the mystery of Christ. Do not look at your brothers or sisters who seem to have bypassed the wilderness and feel envy. Their shallow foundation will not sustain the weight of the new year. But you have been built for the storm. You have been forged for the weight. The declaration of stewardship. Now, hear the word of the King for the hour you are in. In Joel chapter 2, verse 25, the Lord says, "So I will restore to you the years that the swarming locust has eaten." 2026 is not just another year. It is the year of restoration and realization. It is the year where the seeds of your tears finally break through the soil and find the sun. The giants of fear and shame stand at the door because they know what is hidden inside of you. They aren't trying to keep you out. They are trying to keep the king's light from breaking forth through you. The king does not use the perfect. He uses the prepared. He uses the servant who knows their own nothingness, for that is the only servant he can fill with his everything. Lift up your eyes from the mud of the courtyard and the shadows of the year gone by. The door of 2026 is beginning to turn on its massive hinges. This moment is a stewardship you have been forged to carry for his glory alone. It is not a prize to be won, but a territory to be occupied. I am a servant of the living God. My past was my preparation. My pain was my secret promotion into the king's service. I will not complain about the desert, for it taught me to thirst for the living water. I will not curse the fire, for it showed me that I am never alone in the flames. I will not fear the giants, for I have seen the face of the king. 2026 is the year I walk through the door, not in my own name, but in the name that is above every name. I am ready because my king has made me ready. I am ready. If you realize now that your struggle was never in vain, do not keep that hope to yourself. Like this video and share it with a brother or sister who feels lost in the silence of their own wilderness. Subscribe to Roar of Zion to stand with those who recognize the sovereign hand in every season. Leave a comment below. God was preparing me for 2026.